let's see the conclusion to this mess. Alright, time to absorb the light. And here it comes. Boom. 3 down, 2 to go. We don't turn into a giant bomb of light. Still worried about that.
The Light Warden is dead. The Blessed's prayers have been answered.
Indeed they have.
Aye, that they have. His condition yet troubleth thee?
It does. Though he shows no immediate signs of corruption, the danger remains. He must be told.
I can hear you.
Would you describe it to me, Marie-Ange? Paint for me a picture with your words.
The night sky. I would do a terrible job at describing it to her.
Stars. Diamonds strewn across a raven gown. Boundless and beautiful.
You know, she chose the perfect person to describe it to her, though. Because he talks artistically about everything. So...
'Tis an exquisite sight, not unlike that of the source. Calm and gentle and forgiving.
I can see it.
For however deep the void, or wide the expanse, there is no shore so distant as to be beyond the reach of light. Ominous though that may sound, given our present travails.
Well fought. Let us return home.
Oh, I guess they are acknowledging it. Okay.
The murals. If I am not mistaken, they predate the Empire.
Wait, she can see them? Okay, I'm so very confused how her sight works. I get it works as works with ether, but unless there's ether in the paint, how can she... I don't know. I should stop questioning it.
How can you tell?
A peculiarity of the paint. Most are made from mineral-based pigments. But whatever was used here is older than anything I have ever seen. According to Almet, this sanctuary was built to preserve the wisdom of the ancients. What events do these murals commemorate, I wonder?
Must you always linger after defeating your enemies? Navigating these halls on foot is exhausting.
Come to lead us to safety, have you?
I was bored. But how is the hero of the hour?
Feeling incredibly light. Puns. You can look, but you can't touch.
Fighting fit, I see. Keep up the good work.
Oh, don't... Please, deign to hide your disappointment.
You're plotting something.
No, really?
Every hour of every day. But never you mind about that.
Doesn't even have it.
As I have told you 1,000 times before, I like to watch. Nothing more.
I was gonna make a joke about a certain genre of hentai, but I think that's beneath me.
Well, I would quit this
Not
place
really.
and I suggest you do the same. There is yet work to be done. Ah, there is a sight to bring a tear to the eye.
You recognize these scenes?
That I do. Indeed, there was a time when anyone and everyone would. Until one calamitous day when the world was divided across 10 and 3 reflections, sundering the land and all who dwelled upon it. And the worst part? No one could remember it. Not really. Just fragments and fleeting memories of an achingly familiar world. A vision shared of a paradise lost, preserved only in song and scripture and paint. Once upon a time. Yet here we find ourselves again, to look, learn, and remember.
Then share with us the stories you know so well. We are listening.
Before the Great Sundering,
Okay, he actually is
there
gonna
was
talk to us.
one world. A world that knew naught but peace and prosperity. Until it was faced with a crisis. Unprecedented, terrifying. Civilization found itself perched upon a precipice, staring into oblivion. But through prayer and sacrifice, the will of the star was made manifest. Zodiac was his name, and by his grace was the calamity averted.
Oh, okay, hold on. Okay, through grace, prosperity, through prayer. We know that primals are manifested via the prayer and ether crystals. So is part of what he's saying that Hydaelyn and Zodiac are like primals? Well, like primals in a sense. And Zodiac came first to avoid... Well, I can believe that to a degree, because again, I don't think Zodiac or Hydaelyn are inherently bad or good. I've believed that since Heaven's Ward, pretty much, since the topic became of a discussion. They both represent two sides of two sides of the scale that are constantly trying to get a little bit more weight on their side than the other. But inevitably, they are both needed for the world to exist. They both But then that also, there was a civilization before Zodiac came, or Hydaelyn. I always had the idea that they were there from the precipice.
Zodiac.
A savior mighty and magnificent, deserving of reverence and gratitude. One would have thought, yet some thought otherwise. From the fears of these naysayers would rise Hydaelyn. She who was to serve as his shackles, to bind him and hold him in check.
So what he's saying is Hydaelyn was created... Because... Okay, so if I understand that part correctly, when Zodiark came to be, he was all-powerful, he prevented the calamity, but out of fear of his power, and out of fear of... that basically there's this one almighty god that has absolutely nothing stopping him from doing whatever he wants, and so out of fear of that overwhelming force that they have no way of controlling, others brought about Hydaelyn to essentially act as a balance, act as the opposite end of the scales, because without any kind of balance, they feared that there was no way to fight back or control Zodiark. So Hydaelyn, in a way, definitely does act as shackles. It's weird to think. Well, I guess I can definitely believe Zodiark came first. That does make a lot of sense, because darkness before light. And I can believe for sure that Hydaelyn was created or manifested as an act of counterbalance. That I do believe for sure.
And so they fought, and they fought, and they fought, and in the end, Hydaelyn was victorious.
Alright, I got that one panel correct, at least.
With all her strength, she smote him, dealing a blow so devastating that it split the very fabric of reality. And thus was Zodiark banished and his being divided. That concludes today's lesson on long-forgotten history. Though I imagine your mother would offer a rather contradictory account, as is her wont.
But is it any less true than yours? I'm not saying Hydaelyn wouldn't lie to us, but I am saying, like, is it really a case of one's lying, one's telling the truth, or is it a case of there is more detail, a differing perspective on the situation? I have no doubt Hydaelyn is not pure good. She's pure light, but she's not pure good. There's a difference. But at the same time, I think it's only fair to listen to both sides of the story. And as it is, we're not even getting Zodiark's account. We're getting one of his followers' account. Someone who's already decided whose side they're on and which part of the story they believe. Even if Emmett was there, there's only so much of the perspective he has. But I can a lot of that I can believe whether he was the one telling us the story or not. Zodiark coming first, it is a surprise that... The part that's surprising to me is that they were manifested like primals. Basically through belief and religious fervor, they were brought forth. Zodiark was brought forth with the intent of being a protective force to protect the world from a destructive calamity. He'd served his purpose. However, there were those, as Emmett put it himself, they were naysayers, people who were afraid of Zodiark's power, afraid of possible motivations behind his actions, and also afraid that there was something that they couldn't control, that something was oppressing them. So out of fear of that, they created the opposite end of the scales. They created Hydaelyn. But I asked the question, was there any reason Zodiark gave them to do that? Like, I can't believe that Zodiark was just minding his own business after averting such a horrific chaos and such horrific calamity that all of a sudden people magically were like, oh shit, we gotta make Hydaelyn now. I feel like there's more context there. There's something about Zodiark that made people want to manifest a counterbalance. Now, to be fair, it could be entirely a case of fear of the unknown and fear of something just so much more above your station. But I think I think there's more to it than that. I think that I'm not saying that Hydaelyn is is the pure good guy of the story, and Zodiark's pure bad, and anyone who follows one or the other defines whether they're good or bad. It's definitely black and white here. Well, there's definitely lots of shades of gray. But my question really comes down to purely what actually transpired. Was it purely out of fear of just the unknown and all power, or was it a fear of Zodiark that was unfounded, or did Zodiark perhaps put an ultimatum to those that did not directly follow and worship him? Was it a primal situation where those that simply wanted to live their lives separate from Zodiark's faith? Was there a threat there? Was there... I feel that there's more context there. Something that really shows that that there was a motivation behind summoning Hydaelyn that was a little bit less as flat as Emmett is just dropping it. I don't know. I feel like we should, if we could.
Sorry, I can only assume I misheard. But it sounded an awful lot like you were implying both Zodiark and Hydaelyn are not gods. But
What? Not gods of the first? Is that what you thought these paintings depicted? Or... Oh. They are gods after a fashion, yes. But no different from the kind with which you are so intimately acquainted. Formed of faith and prayer, of conviction and devotion. The eldest and most powerful of primals.
Alright. I want it said on record. I want it said on goddamn record. I called this shit when I was playing through Heaven's Ward. I did. I gotta go through the footage. I know I speculated at one point that Hydaelyn and Zodiark were primals. And I'm pretty damn sure someone in the chat told me wrong. Pretty fucking sure somebody told me, nah man, you're overthinking it, they're not. Dear Christ, how much ether gems or whatever they used to manifest them existed though. Holy shit. I can only imagine the sheer quantity of that shit they would have needed to manifest Zodiark and Hydaelyn. The icons that represent light and fucking dark. The biggest, most overarching elements ever. How much of that shit would you have needed? Oh my god. I can imagine like the planet was made out of that shit. Like how like we know you needed a source like that. You off there? Well, to be fair, we also know it's done with relics. It's also done with... We do know there's... The most I've been able to clarify is that you need an energy source of some kind to manifest. That's the recipe for primals we've seen up to this point. You need sheer belief, which we've seen it can be as much belief in one individual as much as it's necessary for 100 individuals to believe one thing. You also need a power source, some energy to give life to... Yeah, well, you need ether, correct, but you need a source of ether. So, what, was there just a shit ton of ether just in the air? Or like, what was the source of ether? Was it just the sheer amount of people who delved their ether into it? Or was that the power source? The number of the people who actually were in the belief, like, exerting out their own ether? Wouldn't that have killed a shit ton of people to manifest Zodiark or Hydaelyn? I feel like Maximum Plank. Thank you for coming in, Maximum Plank. Welcome to the stream. How are you? Yeah, you need aether, which usually is found in crystals, but sometimes elsewhere. Yeah, you can find it in people. You can find it in but the thing is, I'm just trying to think, what would the fucking source be for Hydaelyn and Zodiark? It's got to be more than just the amount that's used to summon forth Garuda, for example, or Titan, or Ifrit, or any of them. Like they gotta be like fractional by comparison, I would have to think. So either a shit ton of people sacrificed themselves, or like, Jesus, keep in mind this is when the source was whole in the only world. Yes, like, I can imagine there's more ether available, but at the same time, there still needs to be a power source. There still needs to be a shit ton of that, and I'm assuming it would still take a lot. Click for more. Sorry, I know, but can I speculate a little bit before we continue? I know it's gonna probably be explained as we go here. But I need a second to decompress and kind of just ask the questions, even if they're gonna get answered in a second here. It's just this is the biggest lore bomb in the entirety of this game so far. This is wholesale above any other lore bomb we have had throughout the entirety of the game thus far. Nothing compares to the drop we're getting right now. This is like the origins of the fucking universe level shit here. And that's assuming Emmett's not leaving out as much as he fucking wants. Now, I tend to believe him right here. At the very least, I tend to believe right here that there's a shit ton of this that is true. But I think the way things are being said could be being manipulated. The best liars know how to twist the truth, not necessarily completely fabricate every detail. It's much harder to fabricate every detail. So I think he's telling us the baseline truth, but I think the way it's being told is where it could be arguable he's making shit up. Now, I'm willing to say though, I definitely believe the gist of it though so far, that the Zodiark was manifested because the world was in chaos and in calamity, and people wanted wanted a god, wanted something to lift them out of the chaos, lift them out of the calamity, lift them out of the horror that they were experiencing. So they brought forth Zodiark. Zodiark did his job, but once the dust settled, the other half of people, or even hell, they might have originally been Zodiark followers, started to question, okay, now there's this almighty being of pure energy and power, but holy fuck, what happens if we piss him off? Holy fuck, what happens if this? What happens if that? They start to be fearful of the thing that they created, and now there's nothing to stop that thing. Like, there's nothing to cease that thing's power and control, except a counterbalance, Hydaelyn, which all of that makes perfect sense to me. But damn, it's the smaller details about what he's saying though, like. It's that stuff that I'm questioning pretty strongly. Now you see why Pyro's brain will melt right out of his ears. And yeah, it's a lot to take in, it's a lot to decompress. It is a lot. Yeah, but I do feel vindicated though that it's confirmed they're fucking primals. Knew it! Still missing some information. I know I am, but I'm allowed to speculate before I get the information. At least to see how close to the ballpark I'm going for.
You have spun quite a tale. Yet you have not explained the role of the Ascians in all of this. How is it you are privy to ancient secrets lost to time?
I would speculate they were the original followers of Zodiark, but that's just a theory.
Finally you ask the right question. And shrewd questions warrant honest answers. We Ascians know because it is our history, our story.
Alright, yeah, so they were the original followers.
It was we who summoned Zodiark. We natives of that sundered paradise.
And that's easy to deduce. Hey, why are you all surprised?
Now,
how else could he know?
Why we yearn for the great rejoining?
Yeah, I can see why, but at the same time, it doesn't justify any of the shit y'all have done.
For our world. For our people. For all creation to be made whole again.
Yeah, but new creation has manifested and taken form since then. And you'd have to kill all of that to reformulate yours? That's selfish.
Wouldn't you wish for the same?
And I sympathize with it a little bit more now that I know like the core of it, but it doesn't change the fact that you'd have to annihilate all new life to reformulate that of old. It's you're still in the wrong. Like I'm sorry. I don't think they're any more in the right. They're less pure evil, but it's still the same core of it. They're still in the wrong. Their goals, though not evil, though not menacing, their actions are evil. Their attitudes are evil. What they're doing to achieve their it goes perfectly in line with what I said before. Like, yeah, I will say I was wrong that they're pure evil and that their goals are pure evil, but their actions are. That remains true. And my attitude towards it's pretty much the same. I might be a little softer on the acts, like a little bit softer on them, but it doesn't change the fact that they are committing the most evil acts possible to bring about one good. Like, and the thing is, the good is entirely solitary to them. All the new life that is manifested in the 13 worlds, all the new existences, all of that is manifested is new life. It's new existence. You can't just snuff it out because it isn't what it was before when you were there, what you believed to be a paradise. Would you kill 10 to save someone in your family? Okay, that is fair. That is a fair point. Yes. Now, I think a better question to ask, though, is, would you murder a 5-year-old little girl if it meant, like, if you had a 5-year-old daughter that died, you get to bring her back to life? You have to kill another person's 5-year-old daughter to bring back yours. That's a way better one, I think. And in fact, not just one other little girl, you have to kill 13 of them. 13 different variations of that little girl to bring back your one. How would you answer my question? Remember to leave a like and subscribe.